was. I think Donald Trump and Biden is a toss-up. And it's literally about which one of them can energize those people to get off the couch, or which one of them can go out there and capture those people who in the Republican primaries was voting for Nikki Haley. You know, and I think whoever can do that is we're going to see who's going to win in November. And the other thing people aren't factoring in come November is voter suppression. There's going to be voter suppression that happens, right? And the only defense Democrats ever have against voter suppression is we got to have the largest voter turnout in the history of America. I don't think they get that in 2024. So if it's close, you know what Republicans do? They're going to steal it. So that's just a fact. So I don't know. I just felt like, you know, Nikki Haley or anybody else, you know, probably gave them a better shot than Trump would. I think with Trump is 50-50, with Biden is 50-50. I'm really not sure how Trump fares in the general election. You see Gavin Newsom, he goes on Fox Now and goes with Hannity, debates Ron DeSantis. I feel like the VP should have been doing that, especially when they were saying things like, we should be scared to death of a Kamala Harris presidency. You're only saying that because she's black. You're only saying that because she's black and she's a woman. Like there's no other thing to fear, because if she got into the White House and she became president, her policies wouldn't be any different than any other Democrat. So what is there to fear other than that she's a black woman? She should have took that opening and ran with it.
All right, guys, so we got to talk about Dumb and Dumber. Confused and even more confused Negroes, Stephen A. Smith and Charlamagne the Devil, okay? Because Leonard and Stephen A. are talking about politics, okay? Which means that it's probably not a very insightful conversation, but we do have some issues to discuss here, okay? Because Charlamagne the God declared that Republicans are afraid of Kamala Harris because she is black, okay? Because she's a black woman, okay? He is taking issue with Nikki Haley basically using Kamala Harris as a fear-mongering tool, okay? Nikki Haley used to come out here and say that, well, a vote for Biden is a vote for Kamala Harris, in which, you know, I think that she kind of has a point, because the problem with this country, even though Charlamagne the God doesn't realize this, is that we're too progressive, right? The Democrat Party is too progressive. Now, Joe Biden is supposed to be the conservative Democrat, even though Joe Biden is the most progressive president ever in regards to how he governs. The real Joe Biden that's not being controlled clearly and obviously is not that progressive. I mean, he called the illegal immigrant that murdered Laken Riley an illegal. In the Democrat Party, the woke Democrat Party lost their mind, okay? But that was just a rare moment of truth where Joe Biden wasn't reading, you know, his talking points and basically saying what he actually thinks, okay? That an illegal is an illegal, okay? That's how woke the Democrat Party is. You can't call a spade, okay? But Kamala Harris is a progressive, okay? And she is way more progressive than Joe Biden. And that in and of itself is a reason to be afraid of Kamala Harris, right? To be fearful of a Kamala Harris presidency. Because if you think that the Democrat Party under Joe Biden is too progressive, if Kamala Harris is leading the country, it's going to get way more progressive. And progressivism is the reason why we have issues like the border crisis, an issue that Charlamagne the God has spoke out about when it comes to illegal immigration and the effects, the negative effects that it has on the black community. And he went over that in this interview.
Man, do you know back in January, right? I was doing an interview with Fox News, Joseph, who does the digital stuff at Fox News. And he asked me a simple question. He said, Charlamagne, do you think the border is going to be an issue come November? And I said, hell yeah. Hell yes. And the reason I said hell yes is because for the first time in my community, people are talking to me about what's happening at the border. Not because they're anti, immigrants.
They're not xenophobic.
No. Yeah, right. What they were talking about is the fact that they felt like those individuals were getting resources
that
the black community has never gotten.
Eric Adams, not his fault, Governor Oakland, but $53 million prepaid credit cards for undocumented or illegal immigrants. But when was that happening for black people?
And those are just basic necessities,
yes.
Right? Food and a roof over your head. There's a lot of people in this country who don't have that. So if you think that they're going to look at, these people coming in from other countries and they're getting rewarded with those things and they don't have it, you think they're not going to raise hell? Mm-hmm. You think they're not going to have a fit? Then I had people coming to me in New York City talking to me about how, gangs from different countries were coming in and running through their neighborhoods, like causing problems. So what are we talking about again? money, and safety. So these are real conversations that I was having with real people. This ain't nothing I was reading, wasn't no statistics. These are people calling the phone lines and people that I'm actually talking to. So I said that. And do you know, they ran an article on MSNBC that said, Charlamagne the God is pushing MAGA messaging.
Yeah.
Now
they've done it to me about 3 times.
Now
they've done it to me about 3 times.
Now in March, it's the #1 issue, the border.
That's right.
Now you got President Biden, down at the border asking Donald Trump, let's fix this together.
Right.
It's like, yo, just listen to the people.
And Donald Trump is 300 miles away at the border blaming Biden for what's going on.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, so seeing that, you heard that, okay? I'm not sure if Leonard realizes that Kamala Harris is the border czar. So if Kamala Harris was president, if you think the border crisis is bad now, with the way that Biden is handling it, imagine how bad it would be with Kamala, right? I mean, the border, it's already wide open. I mean, they would just be inviting people into the country, right? If Kamala Harris was president, we just might as well not have a border, okay? We might as well just scrap the whole illegal immigration, asylum-seeking process, because it won't matter, right? They'll just let everybody in, okay? Because Kamala Harris is a far-left progressive, okay? She, quite literally, on this issue, she is very far left.
There's no path right now for undocumented immigrants towards citizenship. There's no path. So we have 11, 12 million people. There's an argument about which. Go with 11. 11 million people for which there's no real path. So it is irresponsible to not come up with a plan. And there have been bipartisan agreements. But this administration is not going to sign any of them because we have a president of the United States who has created a fiction about a crisis at the border, and he has held up the United States government and its workers around his vanity project called a wall.
Okay, this is why she did not want the assignment of border czar, because she did not want to be the person to, tell the illegal immigrants not to come. I mean, she had to really struggle to get that out of her mouth, which, that's the first time she's ever really had to struggle to get anything out of her mouth, because she's made a career off of things that go in her mouth.
Do not come. Do not come.
Yeah, so again, the jokes write themselves, okay? What Charlamagne the God doesn't realize is that a lot of things that he's complaining about will be much worse under Kamala Harris, okay? I don't think he really understands that. But then again, Charlamagne is not a deep thinker, okay? He simply is just one of these far leftists that pretend to be an enlightened centrist. Like he's, really thinking deeply about the issues. No, you're not, right? Because if you were thinking deeply about it, you would know that Kamala Harris is not going to be the answer, right? And the reason why Republicans are using her to fearmonger is because, quite literally, Kamala Harris would be more progressive than Joe Biden, okay? But again, this is what he wants. He wants progressivism, okay? Even though it seems like he wants a more secure border, right? He says that MSNBC says he's using Maga talking points for saying that, because, again, common sense apparently is MAGA. But speaking of MAGA, Charlamagne Leonard is going to ask Stephen A. Simp about black conservatives. And Charlamagne the God is going to say he doesn't have an issue with black conservatives, but he does have an issue with black MAGA. And I do want to react to this conversation because it is an interesting conversation that I really want to expand on here. Because Charlamagne the God's dislike for black MAGA is exactly what's wrong with these black progressives, okay? Because they think that they're pro-black when they're actually really not pro-black. So without further ado, let's get into it.
What are your thoughts about black conservatives? And I say that black conservatives as in black conservatism as opposed to the MAGA Republicans. I'm not trying to. I'm just talking black conservatives. What are your thoughts about that?
I don't have a problem with black conservatives. I do have a problem with black MAGA, because it feels like MAGA is so against the basic interest of black people. That's why even when President Biden was on Breakfast Club and he said, if you don't know whether to vote for me or Trump, then you ain't black. That didn't insult me because I understood what he was saying.
It bothered me though.
Really?
You know why it bothered me? Because he was talking to you.
Yeah.
And you're a brother that has tackled so many issues, and nobody's perfect and nobody's flawless, but you've done a hell of a lot more good than anyone has ever given you credit for, as far as I'm concerned. And I respect the hell out of you because of it. It bothered me that he said that to you, because I'm like, who the hell are you to say something like that? Now, I wouldn't think about what he said as much as him, of all people, saying it, because we just removed it. If we can hold Trump and, as a landlord and as an owner, as a homeowner, I was as a landlord more so than anything else in the 70s, if we could hold those things against him, if we can hold the Central Park 5 against him, all right, we can certainly hold stuff against Biden from the 90s in the crime bill.
Absolutely.
And so for
100%.
him to be in 2020 saying that to you, trying to absolve himself from all that he did, and like, yo, this ain't the dude you want. You want me, and if you don't know better, you ain't black. That bothered me.
And I think that we got to that statement because of 17 minutes of intense questioning about that.
Fair.
About his record, and I think he was just, flustered. Listen, I don't like making excuses for white people. You know what I mean? But
Well, look, here's the thing, Charlamagne. You're not only making excuses for a white man that hangs out with Klan members, right? Does a eulogy for a Klan member, but you're also trying to rationalize him telling you that you're not black if you don't vote for him because you think that MAGA is anti-black. Right? That's how brainwashed these individuals are, right? This is what we're talking about. We talk about a slave mentality, right? This man's so mentally enslaved that he's trying to rationalize Joe Biden, telling him you ain't black, okay? Knowing Joe Biden's history by saying, well, MAGA is against blacks, right? Now, what does he mean by that? What does he actually mean by MAGA is against black? Because he clearly doesn't understand that a vast majority of the Republican Party is MAGA, right? So there's not that much difference between the black conservative and black MAGA, so to speak, okay? Because most black conservatives are MAGA. But there is a difference, okay? Because you do have these so-called conscious black conservatives that don't like to tell the truth about the black community, right? That's the honest to God truth, okay? And that's a big thing among black conservatives, right? They accuse the black conservatives or black MAGA, right? The black conservatives that actually will tell the truth about black people of being sellouts, right? You are racial slur, you're this and you're that because you actually call out nonsense, right? And you don't want to be soft on crime, okay? Because ultimately, at the end of the day, if you really love your people, then you need to actually tell the truth, okay? Because you don't love somebody and then you don't tell them the truth. You lie to them and say, oh, no, everything's okay, right? You don't need to worry about the thug, the drug dealer, the criminals that are plaguing the community. Let's not worry about them, right? It's the white man's fault. That's not love. To me, I think that's actually hate, right? Because I would only say that to people that I hate. I would only lie to people that I hate, right? People that I love, I'm going to tell the truth, and I'm going to say, yeah, we have an issue. We have a culture problem, right? We have a crime problem, okay? And I'll go even further because, people like Charlamagne the God is clearly a soft on crime progressive. I think that's anti-black, right? I think that's anti-black, and I think that you actually are selling out black folks. I think that you are against black people if you are soft on crime, okay? I understand the history behind, black people claiming that the system has been weaponized. I get that. I understand that. But let's keep in mind, the Congressional Black Caucus are the same people that begged Joe Biden and Democrats for the crime bill. Well, why did they do that? It's because crime was plaguing the black community. And for as much as they hold the so-called crime bill against Joe Biden, it worked, right? They hold it against him, but it worked. It worked. At the end of the day, it is what it is, right? I know it's a controversial thing to say. I know we love to criticize Joe Biden for locking up all these black people, but it worked, okay? It actually did help clean up a lot of these liberal cities. And the people that were affected the most, a vast majority of people that were affected the most were actual real criminals. Now, again, there were a lot of people, who, were nonviolent, okay? And, they were drug offenders or whatever, and they went to jail, they went to prison, and yeah, that sucks, right? But sometimes when you face crises like what was happening in the 90s with crime being in an all-time high, we've never seen anything like that before, it calls for extreme measures. And it is what it is. I personally think that was a better outcome than the alternative of doing nothing, right? Because you always got to look at things in regards to the alternative. You can't look at things from the ideal perspective or the ideal world, because nothing's ideal, right? There are no solutions, only trade-offs. I personally think that if you're really pro-black, especially now, you should be pro-tough on crime, right? You should be pro locking up these criminals and getting them out of these cities so that we can actually begin the process of cleaning up these neighborhoods and rebuilding these neighborhoods and making these neighborhoods places where, entrepreneurs can come in and do business. Okay, and help build up these communities, because you're not going to build up any of these communities. You're not going to see any progress unless you get rid of the crime. It's not going to happen. Not going to happen. So that's what Charlamagne the God means by, MAGA is anti-black, because, he can't mean that MAGA is anti-black when it comes to illegal immigration, because MAGA is very tough on immigration. So what is he talking about? He's talking about crime. That's what he's talking about. And race as well, too. Okay, if you're not out here demonizing the white man, if you're not demanding special rights and privileges, like, for example, an anti-black hate crime bill, then you're anti-black, right? This is what a lot of these people want. They want an anti-black hate crime bill, right? As if that's going to stop any crime that is happening against black folks. It's not going to do a damn thing, but this is what these people are begging for. They're begging for stuff that literally is not going to do anything to help them, right? And the things that actually will help, like being tough on crime, they don't want that, right? It's anti-black, right? It's anti-black to lock up criminals so that black people can actually thrive and build, right? That's anti-black according to them, okay? But allowing criminals to roam free in the speech, passing these stupid bills, not going to do anything, okay? Wanting to make it harder for police to do their jobs, that's pro-black, right? That's going to help black folks. Again, it's silly. It's nonsense. But in my opinion, I think these individuals that want to be soft on crime are actually the ones that are really anti-black. I'm pro being tough on crime, and I'm pro-business, right? I'm pro-economic opportunity. That's what I'm pro. So, if that's anti-black, then I guess I'm anti-black. But I don't think that's anti-black. I actually think that's pro-black, to be quite honest with you.
Just in that moment, right. I felt like he was simply saying, if you don't know if you vote for Trump, you're voting against your own interests. So I just think when it comes to MAGA, in general, you're voting against your own interests. But I don't have a problem with tried and true black conservatives.
AKA the Michael Steeles of the world, right? Who's not really a real conservative. He's a Democrat. Again, the conservatives that don't want to actually tell the truth and to say, hey, black folks, we got to do better. We need to change our culture, right? The ones that are like, we want tax cuts. We want to be tough on illegal immigration to a certain extent. We want to be, not necessarily soft on crime, but we really don't want to be too tough on crime, okay? Because you're locking up too many black people. Again, they're kind of woke and they're pro-affirmative action, things like that, okay? Some of them want reparations, right? Again, there are black conservatives out there that are really pro-reparations, right? That's what they want. They don't really like LGBTQ too much, that type of black conservative, right? But they don't really want to be too harsh on black folks, right? They don't really want to really, call out the real issues in the community and really deal with those issues in a substantive way, which again means being tough on crime, right? That is what he actually really, that's what he means, okay? Those are the black conservatives he doesn't have a problem with. He has a problem with the ones that, again, really tell the truth, okay? And that's what he means. That's actually really what he means.
Especially when you have conversations with them and you see why they decided they wanted to, vote Republican. It's literally just all about the money. Most of the time. Yeah. Most of the time, it's literally just about the money. That's why I go back to what I said about Nikki Haley. I feel like Republicans missed a good opportunity to have somebody in a general election who could probably get votes from both sides just because people want something different. I think there's a lot of black people, especially probably down south, who might have more conservative values than they lead on. And I think.
But again, most of those people are attracted to Trump. See, that's why I say Charlamagne God doesn't really understand what he's talking about when it comes to politics, because Nikki Haley represents the George Bush type Republicans. Those Republicans never did good with black folks, right? Trump has done the best with black people, right? I mean, Trump has been the most popular Republican with black people since the Civil Rights era. So when he comes out here and he says things like, I think Nikki Haley could probably, get some of those black people in the South, it's like, well, what are you talking about? That doesn't make sense. Like, what evidence do you have to back up that claim? Because again, Nikki Haley is just nothing but George Bush in heels. those Republicans have done terrible with black folks, right? MAGA has actually done a lot better with black folks than, again, the Nikki Haley's, the George Bush's, the traditional neocon wing of the Republican Party. I definitely think that, they don't do well with black folks, right? MAGA has actually done a lot better with black people, okay? You actually see, again, a lot of people, okay, that flipped over to Trump. They were once Democrats. In 2016, they flipped over to Trump, okay? Because Trump has that more moderate appeal, okay? He really does. I mean, that's the honest to God truth.
And she might have been able to galvanize some of those people.
Yeah, this guy is delusional, right? I don't think there's any world where Nikki Haley is going to do better with black people than Trump in a general election. It's just not happening, right? It's just not happening. So again, I don't know why Charlamagne the God or Stephen A. Smith really feel the need to really, speak on politics when clearly, obviously, he doesn't really know what he's talking about, especially when it comes to this issue right here. But notice how he didn't elaborate on, why he believes that MAGA is anti-black, right? I mean, Stephen A. Smith should have asked him the question like, okay, well, why is MAGA anti-black? What is the difference between MAGA and the so-called black conservatives that you do like? What makes MAGA anti-black? I would have loved to hear Charlamagne's answer to that question, because I guarantee you he would have struggle articulating it. What about MAGA's anti-black? What about it, right? So again, I think Leonard is going to vote Democrat. I think that Stephen A. Smith is going to vote Democrat. And like I said, it's people like this that are holding this country back. People who clearly and obviously can see the issues with the Democrat Party, the extremism of the Democrat Party, but they continue to vote Democrat no matter what, okay, even though it's clearly not good for the country. These two individuals, there's no doubt in my mind, they're going to line up and vote Democrat, right? Stephen A. Smith pretends to be an enlightened centrist, okay? And Charlamagne the God is just a frustrated progressive. But they're still going to vote Democrat at the end of the day. Let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a black conservative perspective. Peace.